Hello everyone. Today I'm going to be talking about adopt, don't shop in your everyday life. So, imagine that you are in the market for a new furry friend and you are looking everywhere to find just what you are looking for. Maybe it isn't as hard as you once thought. There are multiple sites where you can adopt a pet, and I'll tell you why that is the best option. Too many dogs and cats throughout the United States are lost to overcrowding shelters. Adoption is the best way to handle this issue. I have been doing research on this topic over the last couple of days and have been in the research and rescue business for around a decade now. Today, I'll be talking about the statistics of animal shelters, unethical breeding, and cost comparisons between shelter dogs and responsible bred dogs. So first and foremost, I will be covering the statistics around animal shelters and why it is critical to consider adopting a pet over your search for another companion. All of the numbers that I am going to read are estimates from the official ASPCA website. So starting off, 6.3 million companion animals are taken in every year, 3.1 million dogs, and 3.2 million cats. That is 6.3 dogs and cats that are equal to the amount of people that live in the cities of Los Angeles and Chicago combined. This wouldn't be as bad of a statistic if some of the top reasons to surrender the animals weren't shocking. According to the ASPCA, most common reasons to surrender an animals are problematic behaviors, aggressive behaviors, grew larger than expected, or health problems that they can't afford. The reasons of growing larger than one can handle and health problems that one can't afford still are baffling to me sometimes. These are not bad dogs and are in these situations just one that they found themselves in awful situations. Even the most common reasons that people would surrender their dog or cat is because of problematic behaviors. These behaviors are usually stuff like pulling on the leash or having too much energy. This is a management issue, as well as not teaching your dog the proper way to interact with people in everyday life. A majority of these dogs and cats do get a happy ending, with about 4.1 million pets are adopted out into homes and about 8.10 thousand strays are returned to their owners. But for the other 1.3 million animals, their end is not so lucky. That is roughly the population of cities such as San Diego, California, and Dallas, Texas, being euthanized. This is still such a huge number, and hopefully we will see a drop in the next couple of years. The next topic that I want to cover is going to be about unethical breeding, such as puppy mills and backyard breeding. And that's a disclaimer. Before I talk about puppy mills, responsible dog breeders are a necessary thing for the health of the breed. But I think shelter animals are the way to go to get the population down. But starting off with puppy mills, there are commercial dog breeding place that maximizes profit by neglecting the dogs and cutting the costs wherever they can. In the hearing of Everson versus Zagart, it states that a puppy mill is a dog breeding operation in which the health of the dogs is disregarded in order to maintain a low overhead and maximum profits. Now that we have the definition established, I want to talk about some of the conditions that these animals are forced to live with. Part of the way they cut costs with these animals is underfeeding them. When these locations are found, some conditions are as bad as food being infested with maggots and green algae growing in their cage and water dish. This might go without being said. There are no veterinary visits or health care in general for these dogs, and are found dead and decomposing in their cages sometimes. The ones that do survive this neglect never get to feel anything but a wire cage, breeding twice a year until they are no longer useful and are most likely shot. For the puppies, it does get slightly better, but not by much. These puppies are taken from their mothers too early. The minimum amount of time that a puppy should stay with its mother is about 8 weeks of age, according to an article titled Early Removal of Puppy from Their Mothers. It states that huskies being removed from their mothers early results in a large percentage of the behavioral issues questions that they receive. It can cause a host of irreversible emotional and behavioral problems in dogs. They after the puppies are shipped out to the pet stores as soon as possible. This process is a lot on the puppies, on top of the conditions that they came from, and because of this, some of them do not survive. The survivors then are dealt out to the first person that offers them the correct amount of money. Of course, this means no background checks, so the puppies could be going into another horrible situation. Puppy mills are just horrible situations all around, and if you are going to buy a dog, do your research and make sure it is a responsible breeder. The final thing I want to bring up is the cost comparison between shelter dogs and specifically bred dogs. So the average cost of a shelter puppy is going to be around $200 to $500, while on the other hand, the average cost of a breeder's puppy is going to be around $500 to $600, or $500 to $2,500. This alone is a huge benefit to adopting on its own, right? But shelters also cover all the basics in their pricing as well. Spaying and neutering, up to date on vaccines, microchipping, heartworm tests and prevention medicine for dogs, feline leukemia for cats, flea tick and mite treatment, tags, collar and leash, and even starter food sometimes. So in conclusion, today I first described the statistics behind the intake and adoption rates of dogs and cats throughout the United States. Secondly, I showed you the horrific conditions that puppy mill dogs have to go through. Finally, I described the average cost between shelter dogs and responsible breed dogs. Too many dogs are lost to overcrowding in shelters. The next time you are in the market for a furry friend, why don't you stop by your local shelter? You might be surprised at what you find.